1886, in Kansas City, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore attended a lecture on metaphysics by Dr. E.B. Weeks. Myrtle Fillmore, who had long been sick with polio and tuberculosis, at that lecture she heard the words, "I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness." For whatever reason, those particular words from that lecture stuck with her. And when she went home, she found that she had been changed at death by those words. She began praying daily, and after a year, she had healed herself of her illness. Myrtle had no idea at that moment that her healing experience would eventually launch a worldwide spiritual movement that we know today as Unity. Her husband, Charles Fillmore, who was a self-taught theologian and had studied many of the world's religions, was pretty impressed by what he had seen happen, by the healing that had taken place with Myrtle. He was deeply impacted by it, and he wanted to get at what the spiritual principles were behind what had happened, and so he began writing about these things, which ultimately culminated in the publishing of Modern Thought magazine in 1889, which we now know today as Unity magazine. In 1890, the prayer ministry that began with Myrtle Fillmore praying to heal her own body expanded and became what we know today as Silent Unity. And through these two things launching, Unity was born. So we're going to talk about Unity today. And if you've been coming here for a long time, I bet you will probably still hear something that you didn't know. And if you're new, this is a great chance for you to get kind of a primer on what Unity is all about. So I hear sometimes people saying, okay, when you realize you have a hard time describing what Unity is when someone asks you about it, right? What's that Unity thing about? So I've been coming to Unity for 24 years and I still have trouble describing it. It kind of depends on who's asking is how you respond, right? But I often hear people saying that we're non-denominational. We are not non-denominational. We are a denomination. So Unity is its own denomination. And in fact, we have approximately 1 million members worldwide. There are 500 Unity Ministries in the United States. This is in case you thought we were some inconsequential we movement, right? There are 160 Unity Ministries internationally. So we are all around the world. And there are 13 national schools outside of the U.S. where they train Unity ministers for their own country. Not only that, Silent Unity, which is this vast prayer ministry, has 11 international affiliates, and Daily Word, which is our little magazine that we publish, has 19 international affiliates. So we are truly a worldwide movement. But what is Unity? Well, there's many different ways to describe it. One way that's sort of falling out of use as much, but definitely used to be what we called ourselves, was practical Christianity. And that was because the Fillmores took the teachings of Christianity and they interpreted them through a little bit different of a lens, but to make them more user-friendly, to make them something that you could live in your daily life. But they were definitely still coming out of that tradition. Unity is often described as a church for the spiritual but not religious. And there's all these polls now showing that, like, I don't have the number, but some vast amount of Americans, like 40-some% or something, are now identifying as spiritual but not religious. I found a description of Unity on the Unity website, which, by the way, easy to find, unity.org. It is a vast wealth of information about our denomination. This is the description I found, and I love this. Unity is for people who might call themselves spiritual but not religious. It is for those who sense the depths of their own being and celebrate the awareness of a power greater than themselves. The teachings in Unity bring together ancient wisdom with new interpretations of what it means to be alive and human. Unity inspires different ways to think about the force of love and intelligence that many people call God. So let's unpack that just a little bit. So the spiritual but not religious. For people who have a sense of their own, an awareness of a power greater than themselves that is within. And I like how it mentions that we are not a newfangled, new age, woo-woo idea. And it's one of my pet peeves is when unity sort of gets conflated with new age, because we're not new age. Some new age folks like our churches, but our teachings are ancient. The Fillmores, especially Charles Fillmore, studied the world religions, and he drew on these ancient traditions, just reinterpreted in a different way. Also, I love that it says that unity inspires people to think about God in a different way. So we do use the word God in unity, but we also use divine mind, source, help me out, all in all, spirit, all of these different names, principle, all of these different names that we use for God. And I like it says that it's that force of love and intelligence. So in unity, we're not talking about a man in the sky, and I'm not saying that other religions are, but some people are. We're talking about that vast energy and force of love, and we call that God. So in unity, there's no dogma. There are no required beliefs. There's no, statement that you have to make to belong. In fact, the Fillmores, we've talked about this a lot, right? They did not set out to start a new denomination. They did not set out to start a new church. In fact, they were very reluctant to do so. They did these things because of pressure from the outside. And so at one point, they were getting pressure to put together a statement of beliefs. What is it that Unity believes? And they were even reluctant to do that because they didn't want to, it to be set in concrete. They wanted, number one, they wanted it to be open for future discovery and evolution. And also, the thing that really drew me to Unity was it's about what a person's truth is inside. And that looks a little bit different for each one of us. There is universal truth, but through each one of us, it feels different. It looks different. It means something different. And so they were really reluctant to put those things into a statement. They really stressed that the truth was within. Another description I found that I thought was very apt from the Unity Worldwide Ministries website. Unity is a positive, practical, progressive approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. Unity honors the universal truths in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. That pretty much says it all. Our teachings are based on the teachings of Jesus, but we honor and respect all paths to God, and we don't require any sort of affiliation or, swearing of allegiance to any particular religion.
No creed.
Or creed, exactly. And if you look on the Unity website, you will find where it says our vision is advancing the global movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity. So that's our vision. Advancing the global movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity. You've probably found that when you mention unity to people, they may not have ever heard of the church, but they've probably heard of one of two things, either silent unity or daily word. So Silent Unity is a 24-hour prayer ministry that has been actively happening since 1890. And when I would be back at the village for my seminary classes, it's hot back there in the summer, and so sometimes I would like to take a late evening walk around the central plaza of the village, and I would see a little light on up in the Silent Unity building. All the lights are out, but there's a little light up in one of the offices. Those are the people that are praying overnight, because this is a 24-hour prayer. It kind of gets you goosebumps. You're like, oh, wow. They're taking phone calls, they're taking emails, they're taking snail mail, all of these things. And so, we're up to date with the times. So it used to be just correspondence, right? But now you can access it in so many different ways. You can even get it through Alexa. You can say, Alexa, open positive prayer. So now I'm wondering if that thing's going to happen like that pastor that said about ordering the toilet paper and then like 4 people, they were listening to it at home and then ordered toilet paper. Alexa, open positive prayer. The Daily Word, a lot of people know about us from the Daily Word, is our small magazine of daily meditations and affirmations that has been in circulation since 1924. It's distributed worldwide, has an approximate circulation of 400,000. And again, it began with snail mail, with correspondence, and now can be accessed by email, through the website. There's a Daily Word app, and again, through Alexa. You can say, Alexa, open daily inspiration, and she will read you the Daily Word. So, the Daily Word is published in 5 languages, as well as in Braille, and it has 18 foreign editions that come out internationally. So that's how most people know Unity. But let's talk a little bit about the organization that is Unity. And this is where it gets a little, sometimes even murky for me, because there are a number of different entities, but I just want to break it down for you a little bit. And also, over the years, they have changed a lot. There's been a lot of restructuring of the various entities and changing of names and such, which make it a little bit confusing. And Vicki will correct me if I get any of this wrong. There are 2 main entities in Unity, which are Unity World Headquarters and Unity Worldwide Ministries. So, the publishing branch of Unity, which is Daily Word, the Unity magazine, I guess not so much anymore, but Unity used to publish a lot of books.
All the little
and the pamphlets
that we get.
But it used to be there were a fair number of books that came out. I don't think they're doing as much of that. But all those little pamphlets and little things you get, that's all published there at Unity World Headquarters. The prayer ministry is also part of Unity World Headquarters, Silent Unity. The education branch of Unity is now under the umbrella of Unity Worldwide Ministries, which used to be called, and this one is more, helps me understand it more, the Association of Unity Churches. So they have taken over the seminary, so the seminary is through them now, it's all online. But there's much more than seminary classes. There are spiritual enrichment, education, there's lots of different classes, and that all falls under UWM. UWM also exists to support ministers and ministries in their ministry work. They handle all of the licensing and ordination, so if you want to become a minister, you go through them. They are a nonprofit and have an executive board of directors, and currently are going through a bunch of changes, so I'm not going to go too much more into that because, yeah, it gets a little confusing. Okay, Unity World Headquarters, which used to be known as Unity School of Christianity, as I said, is the home of Silent Unity, Daily Word, also Unity FM, which I'm only recently becoming familiar with myself because I've done a couple of guest spots on a radio show, but you can look up Unity FM. And it turns out Unity has a long history of radio that goes back to 1922. And now it's all online, of course. And you can go there and access all of the podcasts. There are shows on all kinds of different spiritual content. Unity World Headquarters is also where you find Unity Village, which is just outside of Kansas City in Missouri. And let's see. So Unity Village also offers retreats. They have a hotel and conference center. There's a wonderful bookstore that sells a lot of Unity materials. There's a golf course. Let's see. It's where, what's that?
9-hole golf course.
A 9-hole golf course. It's where all of these entities have their offices now. Long story short, but they used to be, let's just say, in different locations. Now there's a move to bring everything back centrally to Unity Village. So everything is housed right there. Unity World Headquarters is also a nonprofit and has a CEO. I think there, did you already pass it?
Yeah.
Could you go back to that picture real quick?
The back one.
Jim Blake is the CEO of Unity World. Yeah, we like him. We like him. And we like him because he's brought a whole new energy and consciousness to our denomination. He's sort of like I don't want to say he's the head of the denomination because he doesn't, we don't have the kind of hierarchy like bishops or that kind of thing. But he is actually someone who has done, I think, about half of his seminary work himself and intends to complete his seminary work. So he will be an ordained minister. He has a long history, very well-versed in unity principles.
Also high-tech.
And also has a high-tech background and management and all of that. At any rate, he's brought a wonderful new energy. He has a vision of uniting all of these various entities back to one centralized entity. He's coming up with a lot of innovative ways to use, there's a lot of land at Unity Village, and he's trying to come up with innovative ways to use that space that are in line with what we are about. So we like him. Let's see. Okay, I also wanted to tell you, so how many people have been to Unity Village? It's a pretty cool place. It's very beautiful. There's a hotel that you can stay in, but now they've also renovated at least one of the old houses, and they're probably going to be doing others, and it's an Airbnb that you can stay in. It's pretty nice, too. So, the last thing I wanted to mention, because so many people don't even know about this, is Unity Urban Ministerial School. And I don't know a ton about it, but I know that it was formed as a way to educate ministers that intended to work in an urban environment. And it has a strong African American influence. It's all online. They don't have an actual school. They are now getting more synced up with the rest of the process so that everyone goes through the same licensing and ordination process. But they train a lot of ministers. So if you're traveling and you talk to different Unity ministers and they say, well, I went to the urban school, now you'll know what I'm talking about. Their flavor is a little different. It's really interesting because they have that strong African American background. They bring some of that flavor to their style. And so I remember when I was at things at the village that had a lot of urban school students there, they call out, amen, that's right. And I was like, this is cool. We can bring this to our church. I love it. So that's one of the other schools that trains ministers. Okay. I hope that helped give you a better sense of the big picture of our denomination. Now I want to talk a little bit about our beloved, sweet little church here on the hill. There's a saying in Unity that if you've seen one Unity church, you've seen one Unity church. And I don't think this is unique to Unity. I think all denominations have variance, and a lot of it depends on the region. It also depends a lot on the minister. But if you've attended other Unity churches, like I know some of you have, you've probably found that there's a wide range of styles, cultures, what's being taught, what's being focused on. There's just a wide variety, but all of it under the umbrella of our basic teachings and principles. Our little church has a mission statement, which we read every week, but churches are getting more focused on being driven by their mission statement. It's just a way of making sure that everything that we do, the money we spend, the allocation of resources, is all going towards what we have collectively decided is our mission. It's a way of weeding out what is ours to do and what is not ours to do. So our mission statement, I just wanted to help you get more familiar with it, even though you hear it every week. Unity of Monterey Bay is an accepting, inclusive, loving, vibrant, and prosperous spiritual community committed to co-creating an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just, compassionate human presence on this planet. And then I added a piece that I'm not exactly sure where this goes, but I really like it. We invite and support all people to know God's love and to be the voice and the heart through which heaven is made known on earth. So that's what we're about here. So individual Unity churches are congregationally run. There's no hierarchy. There's no one holding power over us. We are part of a region, and we are part of the Association of Unity Churches, but they don't control us. We have a lot of freedom within what we can teach and what we can do in Unity. The region and the association exists to support us. So this church started, and I think it's been 26, 27, something like that, years that this church began. Began as an outreach of Christ Unity Church in Sacramento. And so they wanted to plant a new church here. And so they were supporting us, and they were supplying, pulpit ministry. And they were supporting us financially and such. Rory and Vicki came here 21 and a half years ago, and right away they set a goal to become independent. And so in this coming July, we will be celebrating 20 years of our independence. So when we talk about that, we celebrate it around 4th of July because independence, it's also when they first came. It's just the synchronicity is lovely. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the date at which we became a freestanding, self-supporting, self-governing Unity ministry.
Also incorporated legally.
Also incorporated legally. And so what I want to tell you is that there is so much going on behind the scenes that you don't see. Well, some of you may see various parts of it. I'm only just beginning to see how very much is going on. The more I get involved in various aspects of this ministry, I see how much is going on behind the scenes. So I wanted to break a little bit of it down for you because we are having our meeting after the service today, and I want you all to understand what it is that we're doing. So this church has a board of trustees. We are a non-profit. Like any other non-profit, we have a board of trustees. There are 8 of us. We call it the leadership council here. If you're a leadership council member, why don't you stand just real quick? Just so we know who you are. Okay. And Larry also, right? And he's downstairs. So that's your board of trustees. And then the other element are the members. And we're currently doing this membership drive where we try to get people to let us know that they wanted to continue being members so that we could get an up-to-date, because there's people that were members and they haven't been here in 10 years or whatever. So we wanted to have a current list of current members. And we now have 45 people who have decided to continue to be members. We have about 8 to 10 people who are wanting to become new members. So as a nonprofit, the way it works is that our leadership council is the governing body, but there are certain things that the members vote on, such as today we are going to be voting on adopting new bylaws. And so as a member, you have a vote. So that's just to clarify that a little bit. It doesn't mean that if you're not a member, it doesn't mean that you don't come here, that you aren't involved here, that we don't love you, that you aren't an important part of this ministry. It just means you haven't become a voting member of the congregation. So again, our board is called the Leadership Council. Our co-presidents are Martha Price and Robin Falkenberg. Our treasurer is Colleen Adams. Our secretary is Sue, I can't say your name, Roysowitz. Did I say it? Yes, I said it. Vicki and myself are non-voting members.
No, voting.
We're voting?
I'm voting a member. Senior minister votes.
Okay. It's so confusing. At any rate, we attend the meetings. I guess she has a vote. I don't. I'm the one person who's We are currently meeting third Thursdays. It gets shifted around a little bit. So, as I mentioned, we are a nonprofit. As a nonprofit in California, our board meetings are public. They are open to the public. You are welcome to attend. I just suggest that you let someone know if you're planning to attend, because we are a small group. We plan for a meal before, so if you're going to be there, we just want to know to be able to accommodate you, but it is open to the public. If there's something you want to bring to the Leadership Council, I recommend you get in touch with Vicki, myself, or one of the other Leadership Council members, and let us know so we can put your items on the agenda and you can be heard at the board meeting. As a nonprofit, we are governed by bylaws, and as I mentioned, we are, Unity Worldwide Ministries, in an attempt to get more people on board with what they've deemed our best practices, has put out new recommended bylaws. We took them, we made a few changes. Was that?
They're now mandated.
Mandated.
They have always been recommended, now they're mandated.
Okay, now they're mandated. But I guess maybe the reason I didn't say that is because we were allowed to tweak a few things so that they fit our culture and our polity that we have here at this church.
But they approved them.
But they approved them.
Right.
So now today, members will be voting to approve those. The other thing I wanted to mention about how our leadership council works is that a lot of boards use Robert's Rules of Order, right? We're kind of loosey-goosey in that way. We try to do that as much as possible, but we work based on consensus. So we don't make decisions by, 5 people said yes and 3 people said no, so the yeses win and the no's just have to deal with it. That's not how we operate. Vicki and Rory established a consensus model many years ago, and it's been serving us well for many, many years. So we don't often have a lot of conflicts where we disagree, but if something comes up where we're not of one mind, as our scripture reading said earlier, what we do is we table that issue. We invite one another to take time in prayer to seek guidance, and then we come back to it and see if we can resolve it. So we won't make a decision when someone is, adamantly opposing it. There may be a situation where the person agrees to disagree, but they agree that we can move forward. And this is really important because the way our board operates, we believe, should reflect our spiritual principles. We want to be transparent. We want every aspect of our operation to be in integrity. I've heard things about other churches, not trying to talk bad about anyone, but I've heard that there are places where you go and you find out that, they're saying all these things on Sunday, but then the board is operating in a very different way. And it's always been very important to us that what we say on Sunday and the way we operate as a governing body be in alignment and be in integrity. So that's why we do that. One other thing I wanted to mention, and then I'm going to wrap this up. We belong to the West Central region of Unity churches, which again is, they support us, they provide trainings, they provide board training, they provide consultation when churches are having trouble. Our own Vicki is now the regional rep for our region, which means that she represents the region to the board, making recommendations and advocating
to the standards team
that
then makes policy recommendations to UWM's board.
Did you guys hear that? That make policy recommendations to the board. She's kind of the equivalent of what in some denominations would be like a like a regional minister or even a bishop. We could call her bishop. Drive her crazy. But she has a very important role. I'm gonna start calling her that. She also is starting to do work where she's helping other churches that get into trouble with various things. Hopefully bringing a little bit of our model that has worked so well for us to help other churches. Okay, I'm done with all of that. The main point that I want to drive home today after all of that is that it takes a village to run Unity of Monterey Bay. I'm learning more and more how many people do things behind the scenes that if they didn't get done, it wouldn't be good. A minister cannot do everything. Even 2 ministers cannot do everything. So every single person at this church matters. Your vote matters. Your contribution matters. Whatever service you do at this church, whether it's little or big, it matters. It really, truly does. It takes all of us. If you're the coffee person that week, there's 40 people, expecting fresh coffee, and they're going to have fresh coffee and snacks because you showed up and you did your thing. If you're an usher, that's important. Sometimes people come to a Unity church, they haven't been to church in 20 years, they're scared to come in here. Your smiling face is the first thing they're going to see. So you greeting people, that's an important job. If you do things behind the scenes like mailings and watering the plants and cleaning things up, all of that is so important. That's the beautiful thing about church, is it's a place where everyone belongs, where everyone has a place, where everyone's contribution matters. Each and every person here, honestly, I mean that, each and every person sitting in this room today, and even those who are not here, helped make Unity of Monterey Bay what it is. And it would not be the same